what we're going to look at today before I hand over the word to Louise. And we'll start off with our classic little glue wheel, as we call it. But as many of you know, we focus on creating features for understanding work, how work is done. And today, in this respect, we will highlight the feature of allowing for easier access and connection with the company strategy. Last year, that proved to be an important addition to the Gluu platform. Then we'll also talk about how this you can get this more holistic business view and how you can personalize by user type. And Louisa will cover all of this. Then going to the next stage, which is of course executing work. Once you understand it, you will execute it. We don't have that much we want to highlight in the execution part this time. But when we come to improvement, we do have some things that I will show you later. First of all, we want to show you how it's easy to capture ideas and take them through a review and approval process so that you can increase the velocity of your improvements. And hereby, as part of this, also understand the implications of the change, because obviously if you want to have a fast improvement flow, you do need to be able to analyze the potential impact of your improvement. So that's what we'll be going through today. And just to highlight a little bit, Gluu, I guess we're different in the sense that we're really focusing on the business users. So if we succeed with allowing you to turn this cycle faster, then we are very happy. So it's all about removing the friction of your teams, your co-workers, going from understanding work to executing it and to improving it. And the less friction there is, the more improvements you're going to get. So that's the starting point. But with that said, then I would like to give the word to Louise and to so we can look at the first features. So Louise, let's start with the why. Why did we make this feature to make the entry into Gluu a little bit easier? Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, sure. We felt like some of our customers had a problem connecting their overall strategy to the process landscape that they created in Gluu. We have customers that have been with us for years, so some of them have a very elaborate process landscape, and they're using it on a daily basis, and all their employees are using it. But getting that connection from the processes to the overall business strategy was proving a little bit difficult for some of them. And that's really what started this whole conversation for us, and the reason why we made our drawing tool, as we call it. And what the drawing tool is basically an option to visualize your process hierarchy in a drawing, and as well as connecting it to your business strategy level, because you can visualize it. And as we were working with this feature, we also discovered that something that's really impactful about it is that it also helps you with your frontline employees, making the Gluu experience simpler for them, because you can let them navigate via a drawing instead of sending them into this massive process hierarchy full of categories and groups. So that's really why we chose to spend some time on this feature. And we also decided to combine it with something that we call profiles that came out in December. And that helps you with the frontline employees as well, giving you a very simple access to Gluu for them.
Yeah, so if I may add, it's all about really reducing the barrier of end users, business users, understanding business processes, because we noticed a lot of companies using PowerPoint slides to show their value chain or their process hierarchy, and it was a bit strange that it was living outside of Gluu, and then you had to send people into Gluu. So now we can offer everything in one package, so that you can connect, I guess, the strategy with the execution more easily, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have customers that use this feature in different ways. So I have a little video I want to show you in a second that shows some of these different ways of using it. So let me just pull that up for you. So what we're looking at here is the way that the process hierarchy looks like on a regular Gluu account for normal users. But now you have this option where you can visualize your process hierarchy, and it's connected to the process hierarchy. So here we clicked the drawing and we ended up on a filtered version of our process hierarchy, making it a lot easier for the end user to navigate it, because they only get a portion instead of the full process hierarchy. And the example we just saw was set up as based on APQC. It's for those of you that are not familiar with that, it's a standard way of organizing your processes and your process hierarchy. So you have that option, but you also have the option to do it very simple, like this, where it's just based on a very, very simple view of a value chain. You just have your main processes and your supporting processes. And that's really all the end user sees. So when the end user comes into Gluu, they have this perspective instead of the process hierarchy. And you can also connect it just on a group level, like we just saw. So you get that filtered view.
There was a question, if I may.
Go ahead.
You can make this more like a single view screen, so you don't have the left-hand navigation items, right?
Yeah, sure. I'll show you that later on, what that looks like. But yeah, that's definitely a possibility, and that's a part of the profiles feature where you can change the layout of Gluu as well, and then it's obviously very focused on the frontline employee. But I'll get to that in a minute. I'll show you what that looks like. And for now, I just also wanted to mention about this feature that you also have the option to connect drawings to each other, so you can let the user navigate visually instead of through your process hierarchy. So what happened here was that we just clicked the value chain drawing, finance and accounting, and then we ended up on, in this case, a very simple overview of finance and accounting. There can, of course, be more things there, but you can also add, as you can see, the person responsible for this area. And when you click the different boxes here, you don't get to groups or categories in the process hierarchy. You simply just see processes. So that's also an option. And it makes the drawings a very powerful tool because you can visualize everything and connect everything. And you can also, if you have that need, you can actually also add external links to the drawings, so that when your users click the drawing, you send them somewhere outside of Gluu if need be. And that lets Gluu be that single source of truth, the place you tell your employees to go to find out about their processes and to find their work instructions and see how to carry out their work. Even if it has to be done somewhere outside of Gluu, Gluu is still their starting point, and you can help them navigate to the right places within Gluu, but also outside of Gluu. So that's a pretty neat feature. And we've combined this feature with what we call profiles. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about that now. Profiles is in the account settings, and you can set up several profiles if you want to. And what you can do with the profiles is that you have a lot of different options to that changes the layout of Gluu. You can choose the user's start page. You can make that start page be a drawing. And as you can see here, you also have all the things that you have in the sidebar in the left-hand menu in Gluu. You can turn those on and off for different profiles. And once you've set up your profile the way that you want it, excuse me, you can go to the user page and simply just assign the profile to a user. In this case, we're using Peter as our example. And as you can see, all the profiles that were on the available on the profiles page, you can assign to users.
Yeah, if I may add, I think it's funny to see how Gluu has evolved over the years. In the beginning, people were saying, can't it do more? And well, I know it's simple, but can't it do more? It's a little bit thin on the functionalities. But then gradually, as we grew the product and matured the product, more and more features became part of the platform. And suddenly some people started saying, oh, it's a little bit overwhelming. And that's when we realized that we really need to be able to target different user groups. So the real end user that doesn't care about the process, he may be or she may be working inside the process. They need the super simple view, almost like our app. But the process excellence team that know everything, they need a much more advanced view. So there are so many different people working with processes in the company, and maybe they all need their own type of angle to it. And that's what this profile feature allows us to do by simply turning off everything you don't need. So you're really personalizing Gluu to each user group. I think that it's a big step forward, and we can see it in also in demos and everything, that it can become so super simple that there's really nothing to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I think you have a very good point, Søren, especially about the frontline employees, that if you're not a process expert or particularly interested in working with processes, but you're an integral part of the business and you're working in the process, you're the one carrying out the process, then you excuse me, then you really want to give those users a very simple view of Gluu, because to get to where you want to be, which is your employees actually carrying out the actual processes, you have to remove all the noise and clutter that gets in the way of them understanding and carrying out their processes. So let me just show you what it looks like for a very simple frontline employee view of Gluu. I'll just show you a brief video of that. If when the frontline employee logs in, you can set up their view so that their starting page is just a drawing. So they don't ever have to go to the process hierarchy and try to navigate all the mess that you have on there if you have hundreds of processes. They just end up here. And in this example, we're using a technician. So this technician just sees the things that he actually has to do. So we won't even be sending him to the flow diagram. We don't want him to show that and be confused about all the boxes and different shapes. We just want him to easily be able to navigate to his work instructions. And therefore, we've incorporated the work instructions in this drawing, so that when you click a box here, you're sent directly to a work instruction, and you see the work instruction in a full page view. So no swim lanes, no process elements to confuse, simply just easy navigation to your work instructions. That's the general idea. We actually have a customer that does this. They have a lot of stores all over Denmark, approximately 100 stores, and they really wanted to use Gluu to store the work instructions for the employees in the stores as well. So they just had one place where they could share them from. But they didn't want them to have to figure out how to navigate Gluu and understand processes. So they've actually built, it's like pretty much like a kiosk mode, you know, when you say you go visit a company and they have that little tablet in the reception area where you have to sign in. So just tiles like that you click to get to your work instructions. And that's a really cool way of using this feature. I think they're really showing how to gain value from it in that way.
Yeah, I can see maybe even making those elements even bigger, so they take up the whole screen, and then using it for a touch screen or something like that. Yeah,
exactly, and that's actually what they did. They tailored it that way to the like a tablet size screen, so it takes up the whole screen.
Yeah, well, I think you gave a great intro to both how you can see it from the top level down in terms of, you know, the entry from the strategy, from the overall company hierarchy, process house, what everybody calls it, and even also from the bottom up, how you can maybe meet it as some person an employee in a retail outlet somewhere that just needs something to press to see a work instruction without necessarily understanding the complexities of the process they're part of. I think, it will be interesting to see how this unfolds in so many different implementations and organizations where they will be using it differently. And we hope some of you out there will start experimenting with this.
Yeah, we've had quite a lot of interest surrounding this feature because different Gluu customers see different ways of applying this tool in their specific setting. So it'll be fun to see how it gets utilized everywhere. Besides the customers that are already using it. That's true. But
also it kind of solves the old problem of multi-layered hierarchies, because generally we are more in favor of something in hyperlinking, something flat. But of course, everybody has this 5-level process hierarchy, and sometimes you do want to go through each level down to the activity level. And you can now do this by creating whatever representation of each layer you want, even if it's like a value chain or some kind of meta process. You can create it like that.
Exactly. But that's not the only thing we did, Søren. What else did we do last year?
That's my prompt to start the next one. Yeah, so let's go back to improvements, and I want to start off with a little bit of math, because some of you may have seen this before, but if you imagine not really doing anything, so here's a little equation for you that every day throughout the year nobody does anything. Well, then next year we're going to be exactly like we were this year, maybe even a bit decreased, but nothing is really happening, and that is the situation sometimes when the process happens inside a hard-coded system and nobody changes anything. But if you embrace the idea of having all these small, consistent efforts every day, then things start to happen, because just a 1% improvement every day will suddenly you're 37 times better next year. And that's quite impressive. It's a little bit like when you're investing and you have this compounded interest. It's amazing to see what it can do. So it really speaks much to the fact that you don't necessarily have to bring in consultants and do big projects all the time. You can get far with just everybody participating in consistent improvement every day, and you need ways of doing it. So imagine then multiplying this effect by having, say, 100 processes with 100 process owners, each driving their little improvement effort. Well, then suddenly the numbers are absolutely massive. So imagine applying this logic to the critical processes in your business and seeing what incremental improvement really can do. It's quite mind-boggling, I think. So I thought that was the starting point, because what we're going to be showing you now is it's very much about removing the friction of this to happen. So before I show you a little video of highlight of how it works, then I wanted to show you a little bit high level of the flow we're talking about. So basically, it all starts with somebody needing to organize some work, right? You have typically people will call it a task, even though it may be a process. But then you will go into Gluu and you map out the flow, and you may then add some guides, some tasks, and then you can run that flow as a case, and then it will go from person to person, as you know, and they will execute the work and maybe do some registrations, maybe taking a photo, and moving to the next person. And all along, you will have these things documented as a byproduct. I think that's one of those things that bring people in and make them want to participate in improvement, because if you don't have to do documentation for its own sake, then you have more energy and desire to change things than you otherwise would if you had to document everything all the time by yourself. So here in Gluu, of course, you do it automatically. But then this is where this feature comes in. Then as you are working, ideas will pop up. And in the work situation, that's usually where you capture the best improvement ideas. So if you can capture them in the context and suggest make a comment, maybe it's an issue, maybe it's an idea, and channel that one to the process owner, the editors, and if they can then review it and handle it pretty quickly and build it back into the process, then we are really solving something in terms of the velocity of this improvement cycle. So that means that in theory, every time we are working with onboarding a new customer or whatever it is, we could be raising the standard. So every time we execute a process, potentially we have the chance to do an improvement if we have the tools to support it. And that's what we want to try to give you customers and potential customers. So the feature I'm about to show you is very much about improving this part of the flow, the point where somebody makes a suggestion, a comment, and it goes to the right person and they review it, analyze it, and build it back in. So if we can take out friction there, then we have a bigger chance of helping you to achieve that tremendous leap forward in terms of improvement. So let me show you how it's working. So here we have some person working, and that person is maybe making a comment. He's seeing something about registering some capital asset equipment, and he's seeing that he needs to test some equipment, and maybe he's not the person to do it. He needs a technician. That's what he's writing here. So I'm not sure I can do this. I need a technician. So that's just a comment. And then the process owner logs in this case, Kate, and she she sees this comment, and it pops up in the process. So it's a little bit, the process is a little bit of a community for collaboration, as you know. And in here, she will engage, maybe ask, yeah, it sounds like an idea. You do have a point there. Let me investigate this. So the conversation goes away from email and into the right context. You don't have to explain everything because you know the context. You are in the process. You could also be doing on the process page. But what she does now is she puts it into the new approval flow. So this means now this thing is no longer a comment. It could be just a comment. Maybe some of it is just redundant, but she decided to elevate it to a potential improvement, and she put it in review. So now she needs to investigate, and of course she can do some investigation offline. This could take a long time, maybe, but in this case, for the sake of the demo, she merely looks at the relationships of the process, and this brings us to another tool that we built last year, which connects all assets, all components, all systems, all activities, all processes, all roles, all people in Gluu in this type of navigation diagram. So what it does, it gives you a real-time update of the context of your process. And of course, that's always very important because I need to maybe know the job description, maybe know which systems are used and so on before I can decide if a given improvement makes sense. So in this case, maybe she's navigating these relationships, exploring, she's in this case, exploring the work instruction, what exactly is happening here, were there other comments I should take into account. She's also exploring here some of the tasks that were actually done as part of this. Maybe other people express certain issues. So she's using this to understand the context of the improvement. And when she feels assured that, yes, we can go ahead with this, we don't have to put it into a big committee, well, then she might just confirm back to Peter, who sent this in. Yeah, it's a good idea. And just confirm that she investigated, and now it does look like we're going to do it. And then she takes and moves it to approve. So now this one has gone from in review to approved. So we're starting to manage the classic suggestion box issue, where normally you would just put things in a box and everybody would forget about it. But here we're doing it in the right context with governance around it, and now with an approval flow, so that we make sure that we give things a proper treatment, even if they are not relevant. Of course, given ideas, this type of treatment in a very transparent way motivates people to participate. So what happens now is that Kate sees a button now, and she goes straight into the process in edit mode, and she makes the responsibility change that Peter identified. So in this case, the responsibility for preparing this equipment is no longer with the warehouse staff. Maybe they are not fully trained to do so. So we moved it to the technician. The technician has to do this from now on. Just a change in the diagram. And then she saves it, and now she goes through the approval flow where she turns it into a formal version. Of course, that's one of the challenges, that if you're a big company, you don't want to. The reason why you're not doing fast improvements is that you want to have governance around it. You don't want to break things and make mistakes because you're too fast. So the challenge with that is then you become too slow and then you don't make anything. So we are here trying to find that balance of moving as fast as we can, but with brakes on. So it's a little bit like the learning of your company is like a fast car, and we need to make sure it doesn't stop, but we also need to make sure it has proper brakes. And these are the brakes, so to speak. So here she says, well, this is a staff suggestion we improved on, and what she does now, which is interesting, she highlights in this case, there were actually a little library of different improvements that she's addressing with this. It could have been just one. But what she does now is she ties the improvements to the version, so we know the whole context of why we did this. We can even go back to the discussion we had, and you can imagine the alternative to this would be emails and meetings all over the place over a period of time. No one would have an idea what happened just a few months from now. So Kate then turns it into a version, and what she does now is she takes it through a proper formal approval. So her team members in the editor team also need to be part of approving this. Even though she's going fast, maybe they have an objection that is important, and that means that they should not release this new version of the process. So she ensures they have become approvers, and she sets up now, the system will automatically summarize what has changed, because obviously that's another one of those things creating friction, having to write summaries, fill in forms and all that. Even subconsciously, it stops us from having the velocity of the number of improvements that we would otherwise have. So in this case, it's pretty easy. She just says, once this is approved, send out this notification to exactly the right people. So what this means now is that when our improvement idea now is pending review, so as soon as these two people are clicking the button to approve it, this new version will place the old, and we have then it's starting over again. And we have then taken a full turn on the cycle. I hope that makes it a little bit more clear what we mean when we're talking about removing the friction. So if you can move as fast as possible, as your colleagues allow, without losing any governance, version control, formal approvals, then you have a chance to get into that speed that will bring you those benefits that the calculation showed. So I hope lots of our customers will start embracing this and thinking what this capability may be able to do for how they have worked with making improvements. Because I think one of the main things that we have seen is that when you are separating your process from your systems, suddenly you realize that your systems are not the obstacles you thought they were. And then what is left is the process. And if you can improve that one like this, well, then you can really get to a much higher rate of incremental improvement than you have had before. It's just about making it happen internally. So yeah.
And I think that's also some of the feedback we're getting from the customers that have already started using this feature. They're very excited about it, because all companies want to work with continuous improvement. We all want to get the benefits of that, but for most companies, it's very difficult to actually set up a good structure around it. We can do all the meetings, we can say to our employees, oh, we're going to work with continuous improvement, and we want to get all your good ideas and we want to implement them. And everyone gets to the stage where they have the meetings and they get the little mailbox or wherever you're supposed to dump your good ideas. And then everything stops, or at least slows down very much, because it's the part from actually receiving that improvement suggestion to getting it implemented that's difficult. And Gluu is, with this feature now, trying to help you create that structure so that the ideas, like Søren said, are linked directly to the processes and activities that they are concerning. And you can have the discussion with all the right people, because they're all there. They can see your idea, they can comment on it. And it's fairly easy also at a leadership level to approve or reject a suggestion, and your employees can see that you're actually working on it, that you're taking their ideas seriously. And you don't have to implement all of them, just the fact that you're actually putting time and consideration into the effort that your employee made when they came with the idea. That makes all the difference in the world.
I think that's a good point. Even if I may go back to the calculation, I think it's pretty. You can imagine how you can take this even further. Well, now it's at 0 on the end, but I think you understand. But the point is, if we can delegate responsibility for processes to a lot of process owners, the ones that really know out in the business, and we can give them the tools they need, and we can train them to become improvement agents, then in a common way, then we can have lots of people working in a consistent way in their own respective areas, and we can have them helping us to realize these type of numbers. So imagine this happening on a large scale in a large company, of course still allowing for approval of IT and different parties, but moving whatever you can move it forward as fast as you can, and only stop things if there's a really good reason, so that the company doesn't become something that is stopping people from succeeding. I think, if I may reflect on this, the reason I once left a large corporate was that I saw the same problems coming back year after year, and then I felt like I didn't feel like I made a real difference, and it was a main reason for me leaving a big corporate, because it seemed not exactly like a learning organization. But if you can, using maybe tools like this, delegation, involvement, and a clear structure around it, but also change control and approval in the right places, well, then you can set people free, and they will feel like they're part of a learning organization that is moving forward as fast as it can, but not faster. I think that would be the end goal of what we are working on. And I know actually there was a question now, what about the future? Because this was the past, and our next webinar, I think, coming very soon, we will highlight some of these the plans we have for 2024. And I can already say this much, that it will be all about removing the friction of the cycle and increasing velocity. That will be part of it. So we will of course embrace things like AI more actively, and really try to remove all the obstacles from people succeeding with processes in their businesses, both as from the process excellence team point of view, but also really from the end users' perspectives. Because if you don't get the business users on board, then your effort is going to fail in the end. Then you become another corporate team that at some point management is going to look, if they are in cost cutting, and they're going to say, not sure why we're doing this, to put it harshly. So you have to succeed with getting the organization involved. Otherwise, the effort doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and it's like you said, we have a webinar coming up on what we'll be doing in 2024, or at least the first half of it. But if any of you guys have been inspired by some of these features and want to use them, or at least explore them more, you're of course also very welcome to contact us. Reach out, let us know what your goal is, and we'll help you explore the features, and also learn from some of our other customers. what they did with the features. We're happy to do that. And like Søren said in the beginning of the webinar, we'll share a couple of links with you as well to the existing material on these features. For instance, improvement suggestions. We did a webinar on that last year, so you can get a more in-depth intro to the feature and the use of it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think maybe this is enough said for today. This recording, by the way, is available on YouTube and also I think on LinkedIn in case you missed it or want to share it with your colleagues. And stay tuned because we have a lot of webinars planned. The next one, as I said, about our 2024 roadmap. So hope to see a lot of you there. And thanks everyone for hanging in there, and enjoy your weekends out there. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.